Genevieve is a dedicated yoga instructor who cares for her younger siblings, Rowan and Mary, after the loss of their parents 3 years ago. She works hard to provide for them despite their challenges. Meanwhile, Trent Fox, a talented professional baseball player, is sidelined with a torn hamstring and on medical leave. However, his version of recovery involves late nights, drinking, and casual flings. His manager, Ross, is frustrated with Trent's reckless behavior and warns him that if he doesn't straighten out, he risks losing his contract. Reluctantly, Trent agrees to follow Ross's advice and undergo both yoga and therapy as prescribed by his doctor. The next day, Trent sticks to his word and shows up for yoga at Genevieve's class. She introduces herself and mentions that her brother, Rowan, is a big fan. Just before class starts, Trent can't resist throwing her a cheesy compliment, staying true to his Playboy persona. After the session, Trent admits he enjoyed it and signs up for private lessons with Genevieve. They schedule sessions for the weekdays before he heads out. As Genevieve leaves, Luna, a fellow instructor, teases her about Trent, but she brushes it off with a playful smile. Trent eagerly updates Ross about his successful first yoga class, but his overenthusiasm raises Ross's suspicions. Ross warns him not to fool around with his yoga instructor, though it's clear Trent has other plans. Later at the bakery in the same building, Trent is greeted by several women as he orders pastries from Dara, a meditation teacher whose father owns the bakery. Dara, also taken by Trent's charm, serves him with a flirtatious smile. The next day, Trent's first private yoga class begins, and Genevieve finds herself distracted by his muscular chest as he removes his shirt. The session goes smoothly, and Trent starts to feel the benefits. But there's a clear sexual tension as Genevieve assists him with certain poses. Later, while styling the hair of her neighbor Amber, Genevieve admits that being around Trent makes her feel like a teenage girl with a crush. However, she doesn't want to act on her feelings for Trent since he's her client. Amber encourages her to let go, reminding her it's been 3 years since her last breakup. While Genevieve feels something, she's unsure of what exactly. Just then, Rowan walks in, and Amber reveals that Trent is now Genevieve's private client. Rowan, a huge fan, eagerly asks Genevieve to introduce him to Trent, and she finally agrees. During their next lesson, Genevieve nervously asks Trent out for coffee. To her surprise, Trent kisses her, having been thinking of asking her out himself. She quickly pulls away, clarifying it's not a date, just a chance for him to meet her brother, Rowan. Disappointed but undeterred, Trent asks her out on a proper date. Genevieve hesitates, torn by the fact he's her client, but eventually agrees to check her schedule. They share another passionate kiss before she leaves. The next day, Genevieve confides in Crystal, another instructor, about her worries and indecision regarding Trent. Crystal encourages her not to hold back, reminding her that she's a grown woman. Genevieve expresses her fear of falling for Trent, worrying that he might just want to fool around. Crystal reassures her, telling her to do what feels right and not let fear stop her from following her own desires. The next day, Genevieve introduces Rowan to Trent at the bakery, and Rowan is in awe of meeting his idol. He mentions he plays baseball in high school, but his mood shifts when he reveals he's not planning on pursuing it further. Genevieve quickly shuts that down, insisting he should pursue his baseball dreams. Rowan argues that he needs to stay for financial reasons, and Genevieve is surprised to learn that scouts are already asking about him. She firmly insists on arranging a meeting with his coach to explore his options. Trent steps in to break the tension and offers Rowan some advice over treats. Genevieve confides in Trent that her parents passed 3 years ago, and she's been taking care of her siblings ever since. She can't stand seeing Rowan give up his dreams just to help her. The next day, Genevieve strikes an open yoga pose, leaving Trent speechless. The moment leads to a passionate time between them. Afterward, Genevieve admits that Trent brings out something wild in her, prompting him to invite her to a sleepover. She declines, insisting she's not like his other girls. Trent apologizes and suggests they go on a proper date instead. The next day, during their date, Genevieve opens up about her life since her parents' accident. Just 3 months shy of earning her cosmetology license, she had to drop out to care for her siblings. Trent shares his own story, explaining how his parents, both hardworking, ensured he never missed a baseball game when he was younger. Genevieve admits she wants the same for Rowan, but he feels responsible for the family. Trent offers to talk to him, and his thoughtful gesture leaves Genevieve deeply touched. Genevieve admits that Trent is a genuinely nice guy, and he reveals his apartment is just 2 floors above the restaurant. The chemistry between them is undeniable, and they head up to his place, where their passion quickly ignites into a heated makeout session. Just as things are about to escalate, Genevieve receives a frantic call from Rowan, saying someone is trying to break into their house. In a panic, she and Trent rush over to the house and Trent takes control, boldly confronting the intruders and forcing them to run off. After the cops leave, Trent insists on staying the night, concerned that the broken window makes the house feel unsafe. He doesn't want to leave Genevieve and her siblings alone. Eventually, they end up cuddling in her bedroom, fitting perfectly beside each other. The next morning, Trent calls his mother, Joan, and suggests they have dinner at her place so he can get her advice on a woman. Joan is ecstatic and thrilled to hear that he's finally getting serious with someone. When Genevieve wakes up, she's surprised to find that Trent has already made breakfast for her siblings. His thoughtful gesture touches her deeply, but a sense of uncertainty still lingers. Noticing her hesitation, Trent confesses that there's something about her that feels different and suggests they take things one step at a time, letting whatever happens unfold naturally. Later that evening, the undeniable chemistry between them finally takes over, and they give in to the passion that's been building between them. The next day, Trent goes to visit Joan and confides his complicated feelings for Genevieve. Joan wisely deduces that he's falling in love, but Trent brushes it off, insisting it's too soon to label it that way. Although most of his relationships are short-lived, it's just different with Genevieve. The next day during their private lesson, Genevieve is taken aback when Trent casually mentions that his mother wants to meet her, admitting that what they have is more than just a one-night thing. Later, Trent takes Genevieve, Rowan, and Mary to meet his parents. Joan immediately bonds with them, particularly with Mary, who she interacts with playfully, making Genevieve feel a mix of emotions. Afterward, Joan approaches Genevieve to apologize for being so forward with her siblings. Genevieve admits it was heartwarming, but expresses concern about Mary getting too attached, thinking Trent isn't ready to settle down. Joan surprises her by saying the opposite, revealing that Genevieve is the first woman Trent has brought home in years. This speaks volumes about how special she is to him. At home, Rowan finds a final notice for property taxes and decides to sell their dad's car to cover the cost, with Genevieve supporting him. The next day, Genevieve thanks her friend Dash, a tantric instructor, for his help. When Trent walks in and misinterprets their closeness, Dash tries to ease the tension and suggests they take a walk. Outside, Genevieve expresses her disappointment in Trent's reaction, explaining that Dash is just a good friend. Frustrated, she shares that they're selling the car to pay the bills. Trent offers to pay instead, but Genevieve firmly refuses. Genevieve worries that Trent, with his lack of roots, will eventually walk away when he's back on the field. But Trent reassures her, telling her how much she's grounded him and how she makes him feel whole. In the heat of the moment, they drive to her house, where passion flares in the garage. But as things escalate, Genevieve panics, realizing she's not on the pill. Trent calms her with a promise that they'll face whatever comes together. Unable to resist the undeniable chemistry between them, they give in to their desires once more. The next day, during their lesson, Trent confesses his love for Genevieve after a meditative moment. He's come to the realization that he wants to settle down with her and build his roots wherever she is. His words fill Genevieve's heart, and in a sweet, emotional exchange, she confesses her love for him as well, leading to a heartfelt kiss. On Christmas Day, gifts are exchanged, and Trent surprises Genevieve with a chance to finish her cosmetology degree, leaving her elated. Rowan and Mary give Trent a large frame filled with happy memories, which deeply touches him. The highlight of the day comes when Trent gifts Rowan back their dad's car, and this gesture moves Genevieve. It's clear Trent is a romantic at heart when he's truly in love. The next day, Clayton, a friend of Trent's, is shocked to learn that Trent is now in a serious relationship. Love really does change a person. The two head out for drinks, and Trent texts Genevieve, letting her know he'll be out with Clayton and won't be back until late. They enjoy shot after shot, having a great time. Meanwhile, Genevieve stays home, anxiously waiting to share her pregnancy news with him. Unable to wait any longer, she heads to the bar, but when she arrives, she finds Trent locked in a kiss with another woman, Dawn Marie. Though Trent tries to pull away, telling her he's happily in a relationship, the alcohol slows his reflexes. Heartbroken and furious, Genevieve tells Trent she's pregnant with his child and ends their relationship, angrily throwing his drink in his face before storming out. The next day, Trent shows up at Genevieve's house to explain himself, but Amber answers the door and refuses to let him in. She tells him Genevieve doesn't want to speak with him after what he did. Undeterred, Trent returns the following day, determined to make things right. However, he's met by an angry Rowan, who expresses his disappointment in Trent's actions, revealing that all Genevieve does now is cry and struggle with her morning sickness. He then hands Trent the car keys back, making it clear that Trent no longer means anything to him. The next day, Trent feels heartbroken as he goes through his yoga poses alone, unable to shake the weight of what happened. Later, he decides to return the car keys to Genevieve's mailbox, but he witnesses her slumping by the window. Panicking, he rushes inside and takes Genevieve to the hospital. At the hospital, he tries to explain himself to Amber, who has been called to come over, while Genevieve stirs awake. Trent wastes no time, telling her that she is dehydrated, but that the baby is fine. As Genevieve regains consciousness, Trent expresses his love for her and their child, reassuring her that he would never cheat on her. Seeing the sincerity in his eyes, Genevieve, moved by his honesty, admits her love for him as well. Everything is finally right between the two lovebirds once again. Over the next few months, Genevieve's pregnancy progresses, and Trent resumes his baseball career, even taking Rowan along to Vegas for his games. During a video call, Trent can't help but marvel at how beautiful Genevieve looks with her growing bump. Overcome with emotion, he asks her to marry him. However, Genevieve, while deeply moved, wants to wait until after the baby is born before accepting, insisting that she doesn't want to marry him just because she's pregnant. Trent, now more certain than ever, realizes he's found his home in Genevieve and is excited to build his roots with her. And guess what? They're having a boy.